people. This book, After Trauma, is the book I needed to read back in 2013 during some of the darkest times of my life. Allie does something powerful in this book. In retelling her own personal story, she pulls up a chair next to us and makes sure we don't feel alone. In sharing her professional experiences as a first responder and her wisdom as a crisis counselor, she confidently assures us that she is the person to help guide us along our healing paths, holding our stories gently in their hands. Over the last 9 years, I have learned to be selective in who I let into my trauma and the voices I allow to speak into my life and my healing. It's too tender and too important to let just anyone that close. It's too fragile to let just anyone have access to those parts of you. I wish now that I could have replaced that giant stack of books along the wall in my room with this one. Since you've picked this book, I am guessing you are in the midst of something difficult yourself. Or maybe you are close to someone else who is, and you want to know how to best support them. Maybe you're feeling a little trepidation about opening yourself up to more words, more advice, more shoulds, or to-dos. What you'll find is a friend, an advisor, a gentle yet empowering voice speaking into your life. No shame, criticism, or annoyingly pretty bows await you. You can trust this book, and you can trust Allie as she walks with you. Taylor S. Schumann, author of When Thoughts and Prayers Aren't Enough, a shooting survivor's journey into the realities of gun violence. Author's note. Content warning. This book contains descriptions of traumatic events, including domestic violence and sexual assault. This book reflects the author's present recollections of experiences over time. Some names and characteristics have been changed, some events have been compressed, and some dialogue has been recreated. Introduction. On May 22, 2017, a suicide bomber detonated a homemade explosive device just after an Ariana Grande concert in Manchester, England. When the news alert lit up my phone that night, I was sitting at my dining room table in Philadelphia, pen poised over a blank notebook page, eyes closed. Gabe Dixon's song Disappear played loudly in my headphones, a song from the album I play on an endless loop while writing. I'd been writing what would become this book for 7 years by that point, but on that day, I'd felt I was on the verge of finding out what this book was truly supposed to be. My newlywed husband turned on the news to see the preliminary reports of the terrorist attack. Cell phone footage of girls with cat ear headbands running from the arena played on a loop as ambulances rushed toward the crowds. As girls continued to stream from the blast site, I watched them take their first steps as survivors, away from immediate trauma and into their after. I wondered about who those girls would be a week after that day, a month, a year, about how that night would sit in their minds in some form forever. Who would they be when the concert stadium stopped smelling like firecrackers, when the last survivor left the hospital, when everyone else in their lives moved on? Who would they choose to be in the face of such a violent and unexpected disruption? I thought of the choices I'd made about who I was going to be after trauma. Some choices I made consciously and took sustained effort. Some I made in order to just survive and make it to the next day. What determined those choices? What would affect these brand new survivors while making theirs? These questions hung in my brain like the smoke that still lingered among the arena seats in Manchester. That's when I knew I'd found the answer to what this book was meant to be. After Trauma is not about focusing on suffering, but on what comes next. It's about how ordinary people find the strength to keep going after all sorts of trauma. We've all heard about large-scale events like mass shootings or acts of terrorism. We are both fascinated and horrified by the fact that violence and tragedy can touch our lives at any time and in any number of ways. We learn the names of those lost and injured, and we might even follow their stories of recovery for a while. But then that day fades, we forget the date it happened, and we move on. We are captivated by the next significantly tragic day and those lives lost and those injured, and so the cycle continues. We remember the number of those killed, maybe some bits and pieces of their lives, and the way they died. But we often forget that for those people who became famous in the worst way, their lives don't move on as quickly as ours do. Their overcoming is not complete when we forget about them. And what about the stories that never make the news?